stood out positively and negatively?
Yeah. The things that we felt on the field during the game ended up being those things after the game. And, talking with Pete and RC and players and talking with DA, we just got to – we're not doing enough things the right way all the time, And so if we continue to do that, we're going to hover around wins and losses, but hopefully we can just do enough things right to where we can just – let's get on a little bit of a roll. That would be good.
Derek, do you feel like some of the offensive struggles you guys have had is maybe due to miscommunication?
Well, there was some yesterday for sure. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the other games. I've already been watching 4 or 5, Jaguar games. So, but for sure yesterday there was some miscommunications. There was, some audibles that were done, and we're not on the same page, and all those things. And until we get on the same page, there's going to be sucky feelings. And so, if it takes extra time studying, if it takes extra time, with your coach, whatever it takes to make sure that, when those situations come up, we can just do the right things. We have the talent to do the right things, but we have to do the right things, even if the look may change this much, to finish those drives.
Why do you think those issues exist 6 weeks into the season that you guys haven't been able to iron it out?
Well, I have some thoughts on that, that I'll keep to myself. But, for us as players, I can speak for us, it takes a great deal of discipline to make sure that, yes, we may be running the same play, but a new defense presents different looks. And you have to, when we break the huddle, what is my assignment versus that look? What is my assignment when the picture changes a little bit than what I saw in practice, And so just as a player, speak for myself, I just dive into my assignment and the discipline and the focus it takes to do it right, even if it's not what we thought it would be.
So kind of just to be clear, so when you say communication, how much of it is okay, this is the play, this is the route, versus, okay, this is what they're playing and you need to do this, and I'm expecting you to do this?
Yeah, it's going to, against certain defenses, things change. There's a lot of teams that play cover 3, but a lot of teams play it 10 different ways. There's a lot of teams that play quarters, but a lot of teams play quarters, 10 different ways. And so those things change week to week, but at the end of the day, that's where the film study and understanding your opponent, along with the training camp and the OTAs and that studying of the playbook of what our assignment is. Now we take that and match it against what we're going to see, and then how does those things marry? How is it going to look when game time happens? And so, honestly, the more reps you get, the more you see different looks, the better we're going to be. The better as players we'll be going forward. When we take our scheme and see all these looks, the more reps you get, if you work at it, you'll be better.
Is that something that's especially challenging to fix on a short week?
I think on a short week it's exciting because, you don't have any time to dwell on anything else except football. You don't have time to, make any calls or, do anything else besides, dive into the plays. And so, I think in a compressed week, sometimes it's a blessing, that you don't get time to dwell and harp over things, that you just have to turn around and get ready to go for the next one. And so for our guys, I'm excited to see how we came, how guys were coming in today, how we're going to come in tomorrow and get to work. And knowing the guys in this building, I think it'll be a positive response.
I know things change, and of course the field shrinks, so that's the obvious takeaway. But what else stops y'all from being as productive in the red zone? You have 432 yards of offense, and then results that happen afterwards.
Yeah, on every play it could be a number of different things. Is it this assignment? Is it bad eyes? Is it this or that? There's so many things that I could, put up a play, and we'll talk it through it. There's so many things that go on with each one of those. But at the end of the day, I can just speak for players. It comes down to what we just talked about. Whenever you hear the play call and we break the huddle, what is your assignment and what have you been coached to do and what have we talked about, after that. And so that just me as a quarterback, what has RC told me? What has he been telling me all week? And what to expect on this look and this, and then I just try and do that to the best of my ability, that God gave me. And so that's really what it comes down to, doing all the things right, because I said it before the game, I forgot if it was to the production crew or to y'all, that this was a defense that they're going to be on all their details because they don't do a lot of different things. They are going to be honed in on every single detail of their assignment. They're going to fly around and play fast. So if we're not, it's not going to, the execution won't end up that great. And it was good throughout the middle of the field, right? We moved the heck out of the ball. But when we got to red zone, their details were just a little bit better than ours.
Before the season, Pete talked a lot about like how he wanted to be able to give you like 2 play calls and you could go out there and kill one or whatever. Is that something you guys are doing a lot of?
Yeah, there was a few times in the game yesterday, checks and different things, and some were some good plays for us. And then there was, 1 or 2 where you go back and you look at it and you're like, not everybody was on the same page. And so if we're up there, we make a check, I got to make sure I'm making the right check, and also everyone's got to make sure that if I check to something, that everyone understands their assignment. And so it takes all the coaches and players to be on the same page that, whenever, if Pete's going to give me that ability to do those things, that when I do those things, that we all have to be on the same page.
Ultimately, whose responsibility is it to get everyone on the same page? Like, is it more time spent in practice or going over that with you and the receivers? Is that like position group, I guess, film study? Like, I guess where does the ultimate responsibility?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no matter what I say to that, it will put a big circle on someone. So it's everyone's responsibility. I know the coaches are up there figuring out, okay, this is how I'm going to do with my position. This is how we're going to deal with the offense. And as players, we're thinking, okay, personally, how am I going to do this better? Now, how can this morning, me and Mike, I was texting him all morning. Saw Chris this morning, talking to him on the plane, talking to Rashid. And, so we're all, we corrected things. You just don't want to correct them after a loss, And so we all take that responsibility. And if someone's pointing fingers and, if we come constructively to each other and you can't take it, then that's on them as a person. We have to be able to, sit at the table and have a conversation. We have to be able to do those things to move forward. And so far it's been super positive, but it's on everybody. There's not one person in this building, that the weight is more on, less on, anything like that. We all carry a responsibility to do our job. And so, I've just tried my best to, what I think, to do that as a leader and as a quarterback.
Does that kind of go along with Demario's message to the team yesterday about looking in the mirror? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I thought his message was great. What he said is everything I believe. He was. We talk about all the time. We're not playing against the scoreboard. We're playing against the standard. And what standard do you have set for yourself, and what standard do we have set for this team? And so you have to look in the mirror, even as human beings, when we wake up in the morning, what standards do we have for ourselves, right? I have standards for a husband, as a dad. And am I doing those things every day? That's the standard I'm holding myself to, not looking around, not looking at the score of anything else. Make sure I'm living up to that standard of excellence. And so you have to be able to, especially on a short week, you have to be able to do all of the things. Whatever everyone did in the New England week, you have to be able to do all that stuff this week. You have to do all those things, even if you don't feel like it. There's times when I go home, I don't feel like being a great dad because my body hurts, but my kids want to play catch. They want to have fun. I want to give them those memories every time.
Derek, how much of the red zone issues do you think are the biggest problem with what you're all doing? I mean, if you all solve that, do you feel like that's the biggest thing holding the team back right now, or how would you put it in perspective?
Yeah, I would have helped yesterday with close games. NFL, every game is usually within 8 points, right? And you make a mistake down there, has a difference in 4 points. Usually, or sometimes it could be all the points. Depending on the down and what happens after third down. And so for us, I think that if we can't just only focus on that, we have to continue to build on what we're doing, because there was a few missed opportunities yesterday. Because of little detailed things that could have been bigger plays. But for sure, if we fix those things down there, we went 3 for 3 at the New England week and we won the game, And so, for us, we feel as an offense, as players, that if we can do better there, that, we can help the team win.
And Mike Thomas just said he didn't want to hear about people blaming coaches? I mean, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel the same way. I never have blamed a coach. I never will blame a coach because they're not the ones standing on the field. You know, I've always, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, I've always been like, I don't care what play you call. We should be able to execute something, you know. And obviously we know things happen, right? But, you know, they have a good call or whatever. But I've always felt like, man, like I don't like that mentality of pointing a finger. You know, I don't like that mentality at all. I always felt like, you know, if you call something, I'm going to do my best to make that happen, no matter the situation, no matter what, you know, whether I agree or disagree. I am human. I do have those feelings. I'm just going to do my best to execute.
And do you have a lot of input in what you're all doing?
Yeah, they always listen to any ideas that I have. You know, I'm not sitting up there putting the whole game plan together. You know, I don't overstep, you know, and do those things. But, you know, there's a lot of plays that, you know, yesterday that Pete was, you know, calling, you know, that were an idea or thought that I had or RC had or, you know, DJ had or any, you know, he listens and takes input from everybody. I am, you know, Ole, my, you know, old coach, you know, he used to say it's not about who's right, it's about what's right. You know, like who cares who's right in the room? Like, let's just do what's right. And so Pete's always been that way since I got here. You know, if it's a good idea and it makes sense based on the film and it makes sense based on the scheme that we're playing and what we do, then he'll do it. So, you know, I think everyone, including myself, Pete's always listened to us. It's been good.
When it comes to communication and being on the same page as you're adjusting during the game, is it inevitable that that's going to be a work in progress when you have a quarterback coming into a new team and y'all are all getting to know one another, even though you had the offseason and training camp? Is it to be expected early in the season that some of that's going to have to evolve?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The simple answer is yes. You know, I can put up the same exact play against the same coverage, and some quarterbacks throwing it to a different spot and making a different read or making a different type of throw that they like, or the players that they're used to playing with versus the players that they're playing with now. And there's so much of those things that go on in so many conversations that have been taking place like that, you know. Like, hey, I'm used to throwing this ball like this, but you're used to it like that, you know, like so what's best for us, you know, and all those things. So, yeah, those things are definitely happening, but I wouldn't say that that's been a hindrance. I feel like we yesterday finally felt, you know, good moving the ball and all that. I think it just came down in the red zone to a few things.
I think arguably this is probably one of the best defenses you've had, kind of given your Raider days. How much of an onus have you been putting on yourself in the offense to play more complementary to help the defense when they're being stout?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want to do. And so, like, you know, this is one of the more talented teams I've ever been a part of. And so, you know, for us, it's, you know, it is a little frustrating, you know, when it's not going the way we expected. But we're still 3-3 and one game out of first. So
It seemed like the Texans, that last drive in particular, they bring a lot of zero pressure. You know, when you know you can't block everybody, do you think you handled that well? Do you think you adjusted to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had opportunities. You know, absolutely. I felt great. You know that same kind of deal that New England did the week before. They brought a zero pressure, free safeties free, and I went to Mike. He made a big play for us. You know, and you got to stand in there because they have one extra guy that's going to hit you. You know, and that's a part of the business. You know, and so for me at the end, felt like we seen the pressures, putting hats on the protections, giving guys opportunities to make those plays. So schematically and, you know, communication-wise from that aspect was good, but there were some details and some adjustments and some audibles and some kills that didn't take place.
There was a time at the end of the game, I believe it was after the fourth attempt that you guys weren't able to convert on, and there was a video of you. It looked like you were talking to Pete Carmichael on the sideline. Just to get some clarity on that, it looked like it was maybe a heated exchange. Just if you can give clarity to the conversation. Oh
yeah, I apologized to Pete actually on the airplane because I was talking to Pete, but I wasn't talking about Pete. Pete and I know exactly what I was talking about and why. And you know, when the game's on the line, you know, that's when you have to be on every detail of your assignment. And I was a little upset at some of those things, and so it had nothing to do with Pete. He just happened to be the one that walked up when I was a little angry.
Fair to say, just kind of listening to everything you said, that just everybody being on the same page is kind of the crux of the issue. Like, if you guys can get everyone on the same page, stuff gets to where you want it to be.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like kind of cliche, but if I put the assignment up there, offensive football, all 11 have to do right. If a guy runs a great route and I miss a throw, that sucks for the receiver. If a guy, again, runs a great route, someone misses a block, it's a sack, but he's open, that sucks for the team also. So like all 11 guys on offense, if you're running a route, you're not going to get the ball outside cover. It matters though, because you're pulling a defender out for your buddy, to get the ball. Like everything on offense, all 11 matter. Whereas on defense, a guy may get beat, but someone gets a sack. It doesn't work that way usually for offensive football. You have to have all 11 guys be locked in on what plays Pete is putting in, and on every adjustment, on everything, on every detail. And when you are, it looks awesome. When you are, it is a beautiful thing. We had a lot of those things that happened yesterday, but it just so happened that 2 or 3 of those times were critical times where we really needed those moments, and we didn't do it.
How big of a challenge is it going to be to operate with so many injuries up front?
Oh man, nobody cares. It just, you got to go, you got to play. But I know those guys are, that, and if anyone has to move around, if anyone has to play, if those guys get to play, Coach Gruden told me a long time ago, none of that stuff matters. You just go do your job, And so I just have always believed in that. No matter what the situation is, I'm going to go out there and give it my absolute best, for our team and for our organization. Good. Thank you.